Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. So last night, as I was preparing for my video today, I found this graphic. It's raining planes. Russia has lost 10 warplanes in the last 10 days. And I film a video every other day. So this morning, I was prepared to congratulate Russia on successfully going 2 days without having one of their planes shot down. But nope, I woke up this morning. Ukraine downs 2 more Russian Su-34 over the past day. These 2 jets were shot down in the Mariupol and Avdiivka directions. And as I'm trying to film this video, Ukraine just shot down a 3rd jet. So that's 3 in 1 day. Russia has lost 13 military planes in the last 11 days. So something is definitely different. Something is happening, whether it's a Patriot launcher moving across the front lines, or maybe Ukraine already has a pair of F-16s who are sneaking in these combat missions. But Russia's not learning. They keep sending their planes out to get shot down and their pilots to die. It's one thing to conduct meat assaults with prisoners when you don't care if they live or die. But Russia should really care if they're losing skilled and experienced pilots. Now, something that has changed is the Russians have not deployed another A-50 aircraft in the last couple days. Given that this is a $300 million plane, and they've lost 2 in the last 2 months, yeah, I imagine they're a little hesitant on deploying another one in the Krasnodar region. Usually there's also a general on board this plane, and after losing 2 generals in 2 months, yeah, I imagine the guy who was up next for the next mission said maybe we should evaluate what's happening here before we send me out to die. Here's a headline from Newsweek. Ukraine's front line is collapsing. That's a bit dramatic. It's not that bad. But I do think the media needs to have these alarming headlines in order to express urgency and apply pressure to political leaders to do more. But let's have a more reasonable headline, please. Let me show you a different one. Ukraine war map shows Russia's high tempo to capitalize on Avdiivka win. This is more accurate. So we can switch over to the military map, and there's nothing really changing in the Zaporizhia region, there's nothing really changing in the Luhansk region. Where Russia is making progress is these open fields outside of Avdiivka. So the Ukrainians spent months preparing new defense lines on the other side of these water barriers. There's a small stream connecting these ponds, really, and Russia is gobbling up these fields to get to the new defense lines. We'll see in the coming weeks and coming months how well Ukraine can hold these parts of the new front lines. But we do need to be realistic. We do need to sound the alarm. Here's a tweet from Alexander X. He's a volunteer in Ukraine. And this is what he says on Twitter. You don't understand, any of you, how bad things are on the front. You don't understand what the United States has actually done in cutting off supplies of ammunition at exactly the same time when North Korea has supplied Russia with 1 million shells. Now when Russian meat waves rush at our lads and they call for fire support, it is denied to them because we no longer have the ammunition. Brave lads who have fought with courage against impossible odds are going to have to back away and retreat or die where they stand. This is what is happening. May God have mercy on our souls. So at the same time that MAGA Republicans are cutting off military aid for Ukraine, North Korea is stepping up for Russia, and the reports were that 1 million shells have been sent to the Russians, but it might actually be closer to 3 million shells. According to South Korean intelligence, 7,000 ammunition containers have been sent from Pyongyang to the Russian front lines. I don't think we can actually sanction North Korea any more than we already have. North Korea is the most isolated country in the world. Kim Jong-un is the supreme leader. He's basically their living god. And North Korea has turned itself into Russia's personal ammunition factory. 26 million people have to do whatever Kim Jong-un tells them to do. So they don't have to worry about operating at a profit. They don't have to worry about labor rights and safety standards. So what Putin has done is he's recruited the North Koreans to just make artillery shells, as many as they can, as fast as they can. Doesn't matter, once again, safety standards or working hours or working conditions. And Kim Jong-un is happy to do it. He did get a spy satellite from the Russians. He's getting military technology. But mostly what the North Koreans want are food exports. Russia is a net positive producer of agricultural products. And yes, I'm sure they're sending food, but they're probably also sending gold bricks, which Kim Jong-un isn't going to decline. So if you're on Team Democracy, what's the plan? 23 European parliaments unite in an open letter urging House Speaker Johnson to provide aid for Ukraine. The speakers of parliaments across Europe urge their U.S. counterparts to adopt the historic decision to provide Ukraine with the necessary funds to continue its fight against Russian aggression. So every Democratic leader in the world is calling Speaker Johnson, begging him, just schedule a vote. Everyone knows it's going to pass. It's going to pass with a supermajority. But Speaker Johnson is never going to do that. Sorry, I can't help. My very survival is at stake. So Speaker Johnson is never going to schedule a vote on military aid for Ukraine. If he were to do that, his own MAGA members of Congress would remove him. Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene, they would motion to vacate the chair. So everything having to do with the southern border is a distraction. Even if President Biden took executive action and shut the border down himself, Speaker Johnson would still never allow a vote. He's never said, Biden shut down the border and I'll allow a vote. He keeps using vague language such as, first secure the border, then we'll discuss Ukraine. Meaning even if President Biden took executive action, Speaker Johnson would just pivot and say, we can't let this be another Afghanistan. Ukraine is corrupt. They're stealing the aid. Why are we going to waste American taxpayer dollars on a war that Ukraine is losing? And the more and more I learn about Speaker Johnson, the creepier he gets. Purity balls. Girls in the United States making virginity pledges as fathers vow to protect their purity. So here's a creepy clip I'm going to play for you. In 2015, before Johnson was elected to Congress, he appeared in this European documentary about evangelicals in America taking their daughters to purity balls to protect their virginity. So I'm going to play the clip first.
Hiermit verspreche ich vor Gott, mir selbst, meiner Familie, meinen Freunden, meinem zukünftigen Ehemann und meinen zukünftigen Kindern, dass ich enthaltsam bin und jungfräulich bleibe.
In einer Reinheitsverpflichtung wird sogar schriftlich besiegelt.
Es gibt Jäger und Gejagte. Wir wollen unsere Mädchen so erziehen, damit sie klug genug sind, die Wölfe.
So that is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, back in 2015, taking his 13-year-old daughter to one of these purity balls, in which it's a bunch of grown men taking 13-year-old girls to a party, and the girls sign a purity pledge to their father. I believe firmly that in America you can believe whatever you want. But there's a condition. It can't affect me. You can't impose your beliefs on how I live my life. So given that Speaker Johnson is now the second most powerful man in government, yes, I'm going to scrutinize what this guy believes because it's his decisions, shaped by his beliefs, affecting every democracy in the world right now. It's creepy. Pass Ukraine aid through a discharge petition in the House. House Minority Leader Democrat Hakeem Jeffries at the recent Munich Security Conference said, "I've heard more about a discharge petition in the last 2 days from foreign leaders at the highest levels than in my prior 11 years in office combined." So the House was in recess until yesterday, the 28th. I imagine in one of the committees, an identical version of the Senate bill was introduced. So with the discharge petition, we now have to wait 30 days from the introduction in a committee. So we've got to wait until March 28th or 29th now in order for the 30 days to have expired, and then the discharge petition process can begin. It'd be much faster if we just got 3 House Republicans to remove Speaker Johnson and Democrats then helped them elect literally any other Republican, but we're going to do this the hard way. Several Republicans backing discharge petition to force a vote on Ukraine aid. House Republican Representative Brian Fitzpatrick disclosed that several Republicans are prepared to go around Speaker Johnson to force an aid vote for Ukraine. So realistically, we're going to lose a couple Democrat votes because they don't want to support military aid to Israel. So we're going to need about 15 House Republicans to sign this discharge petition to go around Speaker Johnson blocking it. This is going to happen, like I said, at the end of next month, the end of March. Good news is we got 1 vote closer. There was a special election in the state of New York to replace Republican House member George Santos. He was expelled, and a Democrat won this seat. This Democrat publicly supports Ukraine. So for all these close votes, we just got 1 additional vote in the House. Good news. Pentagon considers tapping into remaining $4 billion in Ukraine defense aid. A lot of people are talking about this. What is this? This is the Presidential Drawdown Authority of the Foreign Assistance Act. So every year in the defense budgets, Congress gives the president about $7 or $8 billion to respond to emergencies anywhere in the world. President Biden still has about $4 billion remaining. And the reason why Biden hasn't used this money to help Ukraine is this is money for everything. If China invades Taiwan and Speaker Johnson doesn't want to help, Biden can use this money. If Venezuela invades Guyana and Speaker Johnson doesn't want to help, Biden can use this money. Something happens in the Middle East, something happens on the Korean Peninsula. President Biden is trying to save this money for what it was used for, intended for, emergencies. But President Biden now is considering drawing from this fund in order to send the bare minimum in the short term while we wait for this discharge petition to go through the process. And I want to share this clip of an American living in Kyiv. His name is Jay. Let me just share a little bit of a video he posted yesterday.
I'm here at the river port here in Kyiv, and as you can see, this U.S. flag has been flying for the majority of the war. Still there. I thought it'd be a good background to sort of explain to you what I've seen in Europe. I've been to about 5 European countries in the past week, and I can tell you that to a man, I mean, every politically minded person that I talk to right now is echoing similar sentiment in that Putin's capture of the U.S. Congress, freezing it, another world body that's frozen, The people of Ukraine absolutely love America. Russia is not your friend. They are not your friend. They want to fuck up all of Western civilization. That's the goal. They stated not only on their propaganda, Putin says it. He says it's almost done. It was like a year and a half ago he said that. Ukraine is your friend. The guys here have Weber barbecues. They listen to, bands like 80s bands like Journey and, Metallica. And, they love American culture. They love American culture. It's the largest country in Europe, massively resource rich. Putin can't go against NATO until he gets Ukraine. Once he gets Ukraine, you see, he can then mobilize not only the resources and the ports and whatever people are surviving to then weaponize them against NATO. You see, with North Korea, Iran, and the domestic win of Russia's domestic win, he can then mobilize endless people in Russia. And that's all going to go against NATO. It's very, very clear.
You're not going to find many countries in the world more pro-American than Ukraine. You're not going to find many countries in the world more anti-American than Russian. Yet, MAGA Republicans have completely sold out Western democracy to embrace Putin's brand of authoritarianism. Donald Trump has been promoting this to his supporters, and the minds of tens of millions of Americans have now been affected. Let me share a couple clips that have gone viral from a recent Trump rally in which ordinary Trump supporters are asked what's their opinion on Ukraine and Russia.
Ukraine, would it give you any pause?
I don't have a problem with Russia. I really don't. I have a problem with Ukraine. They're corrupt. I think that people are just ridiculous that they think that Putin's such this enemy. He isn't doing anything. He just wants back what was his.
But he invaded Ukraine,
That's fine.
killing thousands of people.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
As a veteran yourself, does it concern you at all that Russian aggression could move even beyond Ukraine?
I don't think Putin's a problem. I think Zelensky's the problem.
Why do you think Putin's not the problem? He's the one that invaded Ukraine and has killed thousands of people.
Because Putin is trying to save his country from the likes of idiots like Zelensky and the elitists.
Putin just wants back what is his. The real problem is Zelensky. Ukraine is a corrupt country. The reporter even says Putin has killed thousands of people. The Trump supporter responds, "That's fine with me." Here's another clip.
Does Russian aggression concern you that they could? Why not?
Because I watched Tucker Carlson's interview. Putin don't really want to do anything. I think that's old news. I don't really think that he wants to do anything.
Do you think that Russia has ill intent towards the United States?
I don't. No, I don't. After watching the interview with Tucker Carlson, I do not.
After watching the Tucker Carlson interview, I don't think Putin's a problem. I don't think Putin's up to anything. This flag literally says Russian world, Ruski Mir, and they're proudly displaying it in front of a city they destroyed. All the people were forced to flee or else they were killed. This is the Russian world. This is the only way Russia can get bigger. And yes, absolutely it's Russia's plan to continue getting bigger. We can talk about the hypothetical wars against NATO, but just in my last clip, I showed you on Kremlin State TV them talking about how they're going to invade Georgia and Armenia once they're done dealing with Ukraine. 100% they're going to take Moldova. They threaten Kazakhstan, Poland, Finland, the Baltics. If Russia can take Ukraine, then all the men of Ukraine will be mobilized into the Russian military, and they'll be sent to die attacking the Baltics. This is what's going to happen in 5 years if we don't support Ukraine today. Macron says Ukraine troop deployment comments were thought through. The French president had said after a conference of European leaders that while there was no consensus on the sending of Western ground troops to Ukraine, nothing should be excluded. So the Russians really latched on to this talking point from the French president, saying that Western troops might need to be sent to Ukraine. And I don't think he meant NATO troops to be used on the front lines, but trainers, advisors, maybe even maintainers. No, I don't think NATO should rule that out. And if France wants to send their own troops, NATO can't really stop them. But here's the truth. About 20,000 foreign volunteers from over 50 countries have made their way to Ukraine and are currently fighting in the Ukrainian military. So this could be encouraged more by European leaders. Members of NATO militaries could officially separate from their country's military, accept a Ukrainian passport and Ukrainian citizenship, and then go to Ukraine to contribute. Maybe not as frontline soldiers, but as trainers, specialists, maintainers. Ukraine needs everybody they can get. And after 2 years of war, I feel like now's the time. For the people of Eastern Europe, you can either fight the Russians on Ukrainian territory, or you can fight the Russians on your own territory, while your cities are being destroyed and your families are being threatened. So here's the threat. This is Soloveyov on Kremlin State TV, responding to the statements from French President Macron. Vladimir Soloveyov threatens France, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Let me read for you what they're saying on Kremlin State TV today. This is what happened. Macron is a phenomenal cretin. He simply lost his mind. He started to talk about sending European troops to Ukraine. Choose. Which French city are you willing to spare? Which French city do you want to be aflame first? With these kinds of people in international politics, it should be understood they will burn down Europe. There will be a nuclear war. France will be destroyed. Germany understood that and stepped aside. Schultz openly said, "Don't drag me into this. Under no circumstances will I deliver Taurus cruise missiles. I very much want to live." Macron doesn't want to live. He really doesn't want to. Where are we going to bury all of them? Who are these idiots? No, really, who are these idiots? In March, which will start in 2 days, will be the 210th anniversary of the day Russian troops entered Paris. Accordingly, I would like to propose to repeat it. No, for our Foreign Affairs Ministry to organize a big international conference, Russian troops in the capitals of NATO countries. 3 times in Berlin, once in Paris, Tallinn, Vilnius, and Riga, Warsaw, Bucharest, Budapest, Prague. Who else is left? We should also take London and Washington, D.C. We haven't been there yet. That's why I'm saying we should take them. So there we have it yet again, another clip of the Russians threatening to nuke democracies around the world, threatening to send Russian troops to occupy European capitals. Occupy capitals including Washington, D.C., here in the United States. These are the people that currently MAGA Republicans are protecting. MAGA Republicans at rallies are favoring. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Belgium will allocate 200 million euros to the Czech-led initiative to purchase artillery shells for Ukraine. Where are these mystery 800,000 shells coming from? I don't know, but hopefully they can come up with the 1.5 billion to make the purchase. The Dutch Defense Ministry has ordered another 9 DITA howitzers from Czech manufacturers. These howitzers will be donated to Ukraine. Thank you so much to the Netherlands. The Lithuanian government has approved the allocation of over 300,000 euros to support Ukrainian refugees living in Lithuania. Thank you so much to the people of Lithuania. Denmark has announced an additional 10 million kroners as a financial contribution to strengthen the reconstruction efforts with Danish companies inside Ukraine. Thank you so much to the people of Denmark. Final clip I have for you is Ukrainian defenders on the front lines. They were asked the question, what motivates you to keep fighting?
Бажання жити. Бажання, щоб не прийшли все-таки туди, додому, в тил.
Своя сім'я збережена, всі щасливі, всі наслаждаються життю. От ваш сенс.
Я на початок повномасштабної, у мене вже сім'я, донька. І це мене і мотивувало, племінники.
Може, розуміння того, що це важливо і надає саме ті сили, які потрібні для цього.
Так, як і всіх. Сім'я, домівка, діти, сім'я, дружина. Донечка, якій вже 9 місяців вчора було. Бо то, мабуть, найголовніше.
Наші сім'ї і наша земля, ну куди ж? Мусимо стояти до кінця.
Якщо ми запланували евакуацію, у нас планова евакуація, якщо ми вивезли, це морально допомагає, це хорошо.
Ми повинні держатися і йти до перемоги.
Стали сопротивлятися і воюємо, так її треба закінчити. А як по-іншому? По-іншому не можна.
Як би там не було важко, але я думаю, що ми вистоїмо і все в нас буде добре. Хотілося б це, звичайно, чим побистріше це все зробити. Але маємо, що маємо.
Russia will be defeated. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.